Hello, everybody. Again, we're just excited for this week of generosity. And today we're kicking off with our first interview with Cam Ryan, who's a first-time missionary, and just excited to partner with him and to help him get to where God is calling him to go and to continue to see God work through his life and just what he's leading him to. Hello, Cam. Welcome. Glad that you're with us.
Thank you, Pastor Frank, for having me.
No problem, man. So first off, what has your story been of God leading you to this point today?
Yeah, sure. So just to give everybody a quick, introduction to what I'm doing. My name's Cameron Ryan, as Pastor Frank has shared, and I'm from Burlington, New Jersey. I will be serving as a missionary associate to San Jose, Costa Rica. And to give you a little backstory on how I got to that point, I started off, I go to Fountain of Life Center in Burlington, and I had the privilege of attending school there. We have like a K through 12 school. And kind of what we do as a church is every year we host an annual trip to Latin America with different missionaries that our church partners with. And so what they do is the seniors in the school are invited on the trip as well. And it's kind of like the senior class trip is something we do instead of like, the typical going to Disney World as a senior class trip, that kind of thing. The school has an idea of, getting people's feet wet in missions is to invite, the seniors to go on the trip as well. So I had the privilege to attend that trip. We usually host them in the winter, and my trip was to Mexico. And I had the awesome opportunity to work with a missionary couple that is from our church, actually. So we got to work with our own homegrown missionaries, and I've had the privilege to know them and their sons as well that are around my age. So it was really cool to have that personal connection. And then on that trip, we were there for a week. And really, after I finished that trip, I started to realize that God was opening up a new passion inside of me that I really never knew I had. And that was to serve in missions. And from that experience, it was really life-changing for me. And a lot of times, the seniors go on the trip or people from the church go on the trip and they love the experience. They love to be able to serve in that capacity. But that's kind of it for them. They went on the trip and they got to serve, and that was great, and that was awesome. And they might go again on the trips, but for me, I didn't take advantage of the opportunity to serve more right away, but I knew something was starting inside of me as far as wanting to serve and working in missions. So I took advantage of more opportunities to serve, even outside of our church's trips, and kept going on these trips every year with the church to serve. And now we're coming on, if we go back to last February, that was my third time going with Fountain of Life on a trip, and we went to Costa Rica. And this would be my first time going to Costa Rica. And I got to work again and just serve with that missionary. And kind of, before the trip, I was kind of in a point where I'm attending school, I'm going to college, and I'm majoring in something that's interesting to me, but I didn't really know where my path was going next as far as finishing up school. What's the next step for me? I'm just kind of in a point where I'm like in a rut, like, what am I going to do? I have a job, I'm going to school, but I didn't know what the next step was. So kind of before I went on that trip to Costa Rica last February, I began to pray and say, God, I hope that you can reveal to me on this trip, what the next steps are for me, work through me and kind of, fill that vision for me. And, on that trip, I was praying about it, and I really felt like God was saying, hey, you've had different passions and interests in your life. And this is one of them. And this is the one that's been a constant for you. You've always enjoyed, doing missions ever since your first experience doing it. And maybe it's time to take the step beyond the week-long missions trip and really, get involved in missions and really see if that's, and see if that's where God's calling me to take it even further. And it's really interesting because I had something interesting really line up for me where the next day we're kind of coming to the end of our week-long trip there in Costa Rica. The missionary we're working with says to me, hey, I can really see your passion, for serving in missions. Why don't you consider, coming to work with us? And I was like, wow, like that's crazy. Like, how can I get involved? And it was her who introduced me to the missionary associate program where it's in between, making a fully appointed commitment to serving in missions career-wise and, just a week-long trip that we take with our church. So I'm currently enrolled to do a 1-year term in Costa Rica and serve alongside her ministry.
Cool. That's awesome. So just real quick, for some of our young adults who watch this, what would you say is one of the most important things in terms of like figuring out maybe where God is leading you? And as you wrestled with that, what would you say was just something that was big for you and kind of figuring out what God had for you?
Yeah, so some people my age, not all, but some do have, they're kind of at a point where they've got a lot, what they want to do
Mhm.
figured out. But realistically, there's a lot of people that are like me where they have certain interests and passions, but they're not really sure what direction their life's going to go or which one they want to take. It's a scary time to decide. We're young and we're already being asked to decide what we want to do for the rest of our lives at this
Yeah,
point.
yeah,
So it's
yeah.
like, how can we get that all figured out? So I would say, just continue in prayer and, really asking God, open those doors for me and show me where you want me to go. And also, just consulting with parents and people you trust and asking them their advice and seeing where God
Mhm.
will bring you. And who knows, God might bring you to missions.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be awesome. All right, so as a missionary, you need to raise funds to be able to get out on the field and do what God is calling you to do. How has the pandemic, COVID, all that craziness impacted your ability to do that?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So if I'm being honest, sometimes it's difficult not to get discouraged with the pandemic going on and raising funds. I mean, if we look at the facts, a lot of churches for months have not had in-person services. You guys, you weren't planning to have Connect Church to be all online for the first couple months, but that's what
Yeah.
happened just due to the
Hmm.
pandemic. My
Yeah.
church has been closed. We just opened up, 2 weeks ago for public services. And, even though we're open to go back in person, it's much different and we can only have a certain amount of people in at a
Yeah.
time. So naturally, that has resulted in churches receiving less giving and organizations receiving less giving just because of the fact that the pandemic has affected people's economic situations as far as their job and how much, disposable income they have. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, giving is down for a lot of churches and giving for organizations is down. So it's tough to reach out to churches and individuals and ask for support during this time because
Mhm.
not a lot of people aren't in surplus right now, so
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
difficult to
Yeah.
to get that support. So it definitely has been a challenge, but if God has called me to raise funds during this time, it may just be a challenge and test of my faith that He will bring me through this time and will allow me to raise the funds I need to, despite the pandemic. So I'm still, believing in faith that God will bring me through it and He'll adjust things as needed and He'll help me raise the budget that I need to raise. But yeah, it's without a doubt been difficult to reach out to churches and individuals and organizations, things like that, and ask them, hey, are you able to support me? I know you already support these amount of people in these ministries and you have overhead and things like that, but can you add me on to all the expenses you have? It's definitely tough to ask for that.
That makes sense. But that's a great attitude. And as someone who's walking the same journey as you, it looks a little different, but same thing. Again, just even us being able to launch in person on Sunday is a testament to that. And so
Yeah,
God will definitely give you everything that you need to be able to do that. So
absolutely. Yeah,
keep walking in
and
that.
that same thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
with Connect Church launching, I mean, prayer is important. We ask for prayer, but
yeah,
the
yeah,
reality is we need resources. People's
yeah.
volunteering and money
Hmm.
to fund these kind of ministries. So
Yep,
for
for
sure.
sure. All right. So once you get overseas, what are some of the things that you're going to be doing in Costa Rica?
Yes. So when we first went as a trip with Fountain of Life, we had the opportunity. So just to break it down, like our trips they're always like half ministry and half construction because we have a
Hmm.
lot of people in our church who are willing to use their skills to serve ministries as far as construction goes. So we have the seniors of the school and some people from the church who are involved in doing ministry work and then also construction as well. So the missionary I'm working with, her name is Mary Mann. She is the president of Child Hope, which was formerly called Latin American Child Care. It's a organization that was created out of Assemblies of God World Missions. What they do is they build schools and what they call other ministries of compassion all throughout Latin America. So specifically, I'll be working with her in Costa Rica, and her ministry there is kind of with those schools that Child Hope has built. They're Christian schools where children are sponsored to go there. They have the opportunity to go there. She has started a ministry a couple of years back that she calls Girls of Promise, and what they do is they bring students, girls from these schools, and they get to meet after school and kind of have like a program where they learn about the Bible, they learn about God, they have a chance to fellowship together with other girls, and it's kind of like a girls empowerment thing is what she calls it. And this ministry has luckily seen a lot of success, has been blessed to see a lot of success with raising up girls who may have situations at home where they only have a single parent or they have abusive parents, or they're living in poverty, all types of things that happen in Costa Rica. And these girls have gotten to be raised up in Christ and kind of create a positive influence on their communities due to the program. So after seeing the success of that program, she started another program that is the Boys of Promise. And basically through that program, it's the same concept, but for boys. And that was started with a son of a Costa Rican pastor that she works with. He's kind of a national who's opened up that program and allowed boys to come in and meet together, and they get to fellowship and learn about God. And I'll be working directly with him to help the boys program. So that'll be my main function in Costa Rica. I'll be working with Child Hope and with that organization specifically.
That's awesome. It's funny, the church I grew up in back in the day, we partnered with then LACC in the Dominican and built a couple schools there for them. So it's cool to see that continue into.
Yeah, it's an awesome program that gets to build schools and really, and despite, what situations these children grow up in, they get to know that there's hope for them. And despite what they face, God's the answer. Christ is the answer for their lives to bring them through that.
Definitely. So what are you most excited for when you get to Costa Rica?
Oof. If I say coffee, that's a bad answer.
It's a fair one, though. They're definitely known for their coffee there.
Love Costa Rica coffee, but no, that's not why I'm going. So basically, the fact that I got to, I've talked to other missionaries doing Zoom calls and online, programs and trainings where they've signed up for missions, but they haven't had the chance to serve on the field yet. They're just making that commitment. They've never been on a mission trip. They've never gotten to serve with a missionary or do that kind of work yet. So they're kind of just taking the plunge, a little bit more blind than I am, because I've had the chance to serve in missions and do opportunities like that. And I'm blessed to do that. So what I'm excited for is to see that, a ministry that my church has planted a seed in over the years, because we've been to Costa Rica multiple times over the past 10, 15 years doing trips, and we've gotten to continue to grow that ministry. I get to go personally and be a part of continuing to develop that ministry and helping that ministry. So for me, it's exciting because I've done it before, and now I get to go beyond the week-long trip and really, stretch myself and day in and day out live that ministry that we've contributed to over the years. So I'm excited to see it grow, and I just had a chance to work with it before. So now I can see what I personally can contribute to it, through God's help.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Just continuing to see a legacy of partnership play out. That's really cool. All right. And lastly, how can our church pray for you over the next coming months?
So I would just say, prayer that God, despite the pandemic, will open the doors for me to have opportunities to share my message, what I'm going to do, and just to be able to fund my budget so that I'll be able to go. Everything is going to be in God's timing. So if it continues that, my date to leave is pushed back, or, different things are affected with what I'll be doing, that's okay, because we're trusting God through all of it. But I would just ask that, Connect Church and the community would pray that the door would be open for me and for other missionaries who are itinerating throughout New Jersey, that would be able to, despite situations financially and, asking for funds right now is tough, but that will open the doors and opportunities for us to be funded so that we can go serve. Because, AGWM is saying, missions hasn't stopped, as countries are opening up, missionaries are still going to serve, even with a mask on, it doesn't matter. We're still going to serve. So just pray that those doors will be open for us to continue to serve despite what's going on.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome, man. And it's the cool part of it. Missions is still going on. Churches are still being planted. The kingdom of God is still moving forward despite pandemics and craziness within our own country.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's awesome. Thank you for joining us, man. Just really grateful to be able to partner with you and to help send you out. And just excited to see what God is going to do through your life in Costa Rica.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'll definitely be praying for your church as well as you guys are growing.
Thank you. So Connect Church, as you've seen, to partner with Generosity Week and with CAM, you can go to our giving page, and under there you'll see a tab. If you drop down to the Kingdom Builders tab and you give there, all the money given to Kingdom Builders this week and over the coming weeks is going to go to all our missionaries in partnership with our school and town, just to help build a great community in East Windsor and also throughout the world. So partner with us in this Generosity Week. Thank you in advance. We're just excited to see what God is going to do through this. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.